This might look like a Californian fad, but now there's remarkable new evidence that the mind can help reverse heart disease. First Tuesday tonight after news at 10.
And there are some slight changes to programme times tonight, starting with First Tuesday, which now begins just after 10:40. And the rest of this evening's programmes will be approximately 5 to 10 minutes earlier than advertised. Now, though, we join ITN for the news.
The family hear the news from the Gulf. He's alive. 9 British prisoners of war are released by Iraq. The refugees from Basra, another fight against Saddam Hussein. Rescued by the milkman, a kidnapped wife is safely home. And Orkney families face talk of child sex abuse. Good evening. The parents of the youngest RAF Tornado pilot in the Gulf War, who was shot down, learned this evening that he's alive and safe. Flight Lieutenant David Waddington was handed over to the Red Cross in Baghdad. Tomorrow, his 25th birthday, he should be on his way home. Flight Lieutenant Waddington of Bolton in Lancashire and RAF Marham in Norfolk was one of 35 more Allied prisoners of war, 9 of them British, released by the Iraqis today. The Iraqis say they've now handed over all their prisoners. The names of the men freed today haven't been published, though the families have all been told. Edward Sturton's reports from Baghdad are still subject to Iraqi censorship. Correspondents in Iraq are restricted to areas approved by the Iraqi authorities.
One of Baghdad's hotels has become the centre of Red Cross operations here, and the 35 prisoners of war, 9 Britons among them, were, we believe, brought here at about 10 local time this morning. Only the briefest glimpses within, but they are now in the hands of the Red Cross, no longer under the control of the Iraqi authorities. Some signs of preparations for their departure, and the Red Cross had hoped that they would leave Iraq today. But for tonight, they've been made prisoners of the weather. Baghdad has today been swept by fierce winds and covered with heavy cloud. Together, they made the flight that should have taken them to Saudi Arabia impossible. Red Cross officials here say the POWs looked very happy, but they would not be drawn about their physical condition, though the POWs have been given a medical examination.
We are presently talking to the 35. We are taking, as ICRC, taking care of them until their departure. We have been working on the different aspects of such an operation.
The Red Cross is being extremely cautious about civilians or prisoners of war that may still be under Iraqi control, but they do now seem confident that they have the cooperation of the Iraqi authorities. Edward Sturton, News at 10, Baghdad.
It was on a flight over southern Iraq on the second day of the war that the youngest RAF pilot in the Gulf, David Waddington, was shot down. His family had heard nothing of his whereabouts until the Royal Air Force phoned today to say he'd been freed.
We feel wonderful, and we're also thinking about the parents of those who are not coming back. So we're with them too, you know. We think they should be very proud of their children.
What's it been like waiting for news? It must have been awful.
Hell.
Presumably now you've had a phone call from the Ministry of Defence?
Yes, the RAF informed us, yes.
What did they tell you?
Yes, just that our son was alive. That's all we needed to know, yeah. And it's his birthday tomorrow, so it couldn't have come better.
In Germany, the family of another airman, John Peters, who was released yesterday, are preparing for his homecoming. Helen Peters knew her husband had survived his mission over Iraq when he was paraded on television, but she only spoke to him by phone this morning.
He sounded fine. We just chatted, really. It was as if he'd sort of just been away for a day or so.
She says she wasn't worried on seeing his injuries on Iraqi television.
I don't think he looked beaten. He looked as if he had ejected from an aircraft, as many of the other prisoners of war, and also other Air Force personnel who'd had to get out of an aircraft due to technical problems. I don't think he looked horribly beaten.
The only woman held by the Iraqis, the American Army specialist Melissa Rathburn-Neely, has also managed to speak to her family in Michigan.
How are y'all doing? We're We're going crazy. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
You know how famous you are?
I found out.
The whole world knows you.
I know.
The relatives of 35 other prisoners of war hope they'll be on their way home tomorrow.
Muslim rebels opposed to President Saddam claim to be in control of at least 9 Iraqi towns and cities as the battle for the country continues. Some Shiite leaders said their forces had seized parts of the capital, Baghdad. Tonight, Pentagon officials said they expected President Saddam would eventually put down the rebellions because of superior organization. Our diplomatic correspondent Jeffrey Archer at ITN reports.
As refugees stream from the country, southern Iraq is gripped by confusion and disorder. Troops from Saddam Hussein's Republican Guard are reported fighting other soldiers for control of Basra. Eyewitnesses fleeing provide only sketchy details of what's happening.
A revolution is going there.
Is it now?
Yeah.
The revolution?
Yeah.
Is there a lot of fighting?
Yeah, a lot of fighting between the Republican army and the Republican guards and the people there.
Saddam Hussein? Saddam Hussein not.
The uprising began in Basra. Shiite rebels seized control of the city from Saddam Hussein's men and appointed a new city governor. But it was reported today that Saddam's Republican Guards are fighting back and have re-established control in a northern sector of the city. The uprising spread west and north to a number of towns, including the holy cities of Najaf and Karbala, carrying the threat of insurrection towards the capital Baghdad. And in the north of Iraq, where the Kurdish minority has been brutally repressed by Saddam Hussein, Suleimania is reported controlled by rebels. And it's said there's fighting in other towns, including Arbil and Rania. Tonight in Washington, the Pentagon said Saddam Hussein was likely to crush the rebellion for the time being.
The Baghdad government has apparently made a decision to move additional forces down to probably secure Baghdad and also continue south to be involved with the quelling the insurgency.
The insurgency is driven by anger at the slaughter and surrender in Kuwait, which is being firmly blamed on Saddam Hussein. Most of those who suffered are Shia Muslims. Now they want an Iraqi Shia cleric to return from exile in Iran to form a new government.
First priority for him, as I understand, now is to encourage the Iraqi people to move against Saddam Hussein. And the second aim is to topple Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein is today struggling to control the country. He sent Deputy Prime Minister Sadoun Hamadi to Tehran, possibly to ask the Iranians not to intervene in Iraq's internal problems. And Shia sources say the uprising has spread to Baghdad. They say the Abu Ghraib prison was stormed and many political prisoners freed.
What we can confirm is there are several members of Al-Dawa party who are free in the streets of Baghdad, which is a very encouraging sign.
Amongst the prisoners held there without a proper trial is British businessman Ian Richter. It's not known if he's been freed. Tonight, Saddam Hussein appears still in command of the country. Iraqi television showed pictures of him in somber mood.
The International Red Cross has been asked to investigate the whereabouts of up to 30 Western journalists who travelled to the Basra area of southern Iraq on Sunday. They have not yet returned. Among them is an ITN team, the reporter Andrew Simmons, cameraman Sam Gracie and the producer Michael Gillings. ITN's confirmed that they haven't been in contact since Sunday, but that they weren't expected back in the Kuwait city until tonight at the earliest.
Iraq formally ended its annexation of Kuwait today. The country's newly restored leadership imposed curfews to try to prevent nighttime violence. As Kuwait's rulers try to get the country back on its feet again, there was another reminder today of the horror of the Iraqi occupation, a mass burial ground filled with hundreds of victims of the Iraqi troops.
In the grand reception room of the palace, the wealthy and powerful men of Kuwait flocked this morning to greet the newly returned Crown Prince. These men, lining up to proclaim their loyalty, are those who will help to shape the future of the country. But the absolute power of the ruling Al-Sabah family is at risk. For not least amongst their many problems are the thousands of non-Kuwaiti nationals now flooding back across the border. Far from going straight home, the convoy of cars was led to an empty school by an army post. The next stage of their re-assimilation is unclear. So the liberation celebrations, which continue on a daily basis, are a bit one-sided. And while these displays of street firepower are normal here, it points to easy access to weapons and rather lax control. There's no sign of law and order breaking down, nor of open revenge against Palestinians suspected of collaborating. But resentment against Palestinians does rise very easily to the surface. These Palestinian stallholders had little or no food for sale today, a few dried peas, although there were plenty of perfume bottles on offer. But they'd hiked their prices too high. Traditional bargaining went out of the window as the Kuwaitis helped themselves. The chocolates went first. Everything else followed. But it was a small matter. The real source of resentment might be found here, in graves still being dug for those killed by Iraq. Like this man, found tortured and dead, but for whom his relatives had prepared a personal resting place. Secret photographs were taken of all the dead, some unidentifiable after torture, although relatives still sift through them, hoping. Since last August, meticulous records show 2,797 Kuwaitis were buried here, the most appalling legacy of Iraq's invasion.
Tonight, a curfew is in force throughout the country. It was supposed to have started last night, but nobody was told about it, and 3 people were shot dead. While the war has been won, peace has yet to be assured. Desmond Hamill, News at 10, Kuwait.
Texan firefighters who work for Mr. Red Adair have begun assessing the difficulty of capping burning Kuwaiti oil wells. Nearly 1,000 were set alight by retreating Iraqi troops. The Adair team says it could take years to put out all the fires.
It's not supposed to rain in March in Kuwait City, but today it was pouring. And when it hit the ground, the rain had an oily black sheen. Smoke from the oil fires 20 miles away had blown across the capital. In this desert town, it was cold and wet. Out on the oil fields, hundreds of well fires were raging, each one throwing a plume of black toxic smoke into the sky. Oil firefighters from America toured the scene by helicopter. Isolated fires like this may be routine to deal with, but here they're standing in line across the horizon, Saddam's parting gift to Kuwait and the world environment.
One of the worst disasters I've ever seen. It's what we normally deal with. We just don't ever have 500 or 600 in a row to work on.
With his years of experience, Ray Henry says it's the worst job he's ever had to tackle.
First off, we're going to need massive amounts of water. Once we get the water in to where we can cool area and get in close to it, then we can start trying to remove the damaged wellhead or possibly even put the fires out. We use explosives to put the fire out.
The veteran Texas oil men gathered in this hotel said they'll need hundreds of workmen and it'll take at least a year to put out the fires. The cost, £1 billion, and that's before any accounting is made of the environmental price tag.
I think what the Iraqis have committed when it comes to the oil, setting it on fire, is the crime of all centuries to come.
It's expected to be at least 30 days before the first fire is put out. The priority will be given to tackling those fires nearest Kuwait City and the ones giving out the most toxic pollution.
Never seen nothing like this.
Well, how would you assess the magnitude of the task?
Never believe. Could never believe. Every well, there's not one that's missed. Every well is damaged.
We found just one that wasn't. Following these detonator wires to a single wellhead, it had been packed with explosives by Saddam's troops. The plastic explosive lying in sandbags underneath. For some reason, it hadn't gone off. Just another hazard facing the oil firefighters before their job begins. Ken Rees, News at 10, Kuwait.
The Prime Minister, Mr. Major, spent 4 hours with the Soviet President, Mr. Gorbachev, in Moscow today, talking mostly about the Gulf, but also about the Soviet Baltic republics. He said he found personal relations with Mr. Gorbachev easy. He's asked him to visit Britain soon. Mr. Gorbachev asked Mr. Major to visit the Soviet Union again, and he's also reported to have invited Mrs. Thatcher to Moscow.
This was the first meeting between John Major and Mikhail Gorbachev and the first high-level East-West encounter since hostilities in the Gulf. The post-war atmosphere was warm. there was agreement on the way ahead on the importance of the Palestinian question, on the need for arms control in the region. The Soviets promised to stay in step with the UN Security Council. Very welcome indeed, said Mr. Major. His day began with leaders of the Baltic republics, where Soviet troops killed 22 people last month. The Baltics want Western support. Mr. Major went to the Kremlin to demand genuine negotiations on their independence and to express his dismay over the killings.
There are real difficulties over what happened in the Baltics, and President Gorbachev knows our view on that. We spent some time discussing it today, and I expressed what we thought of that particular episode very crisply indeed.
Hardliners have put the Soviet leader under increasing pressure, but Mr. Major seemed satisfied reforms would not be derailed. He tested the waters with the military top brass and with former Defense Minister Eduard Shevardnadze, who resigned, warning of dictatorship. His verdict, Mr. Gorbachev will not easily be deflected.
Well, he's proved himself a very deft politician over recent years. I think his record in that respect is absolutely outstanding. As to the future, we'll have to wait and see. The problems he faces are clearly formidable, but then I think formidable is a word you might apply to Mr. Gorbachev too.
TASS declared today's meetings opened up good prospects for the future. Said Mr. Major, the chemistry was satisfactory. Tim Hewitt, News at 10, Moscow.
Here, the wife of a well-off businessman managed to get away from her kidnapper today. The secret is kept, and she's safe. A report next. Plus, the Midland Bank cuts its dividend, its chairman's going. What's its future? And the Conservatives are reassured about the Ribble by-election despite the poll tax. That's in a couple of minutes.
Last year, Halifax Building Society gave more mortgages to more people to buy more homes than anybody else. And this year, because we're offering reductions on our mortgage rate for first-time buyers and for those looking for a larger loan, we'll be able to help even more.
Did we get it? Did we get it?
Yeah. So whatever your mortgage needs, find out how we could help you by calling into your local Halifax branch now.
Day I colour my hair, I love the colour, the feeling. Now, to help keep my colour alive, I have L'Oreal's new discovery, Rayonance Intensive Conditioner. Rayonance has an ultraviolet filter, which cares for and protects my hair, so my colour stays truer, longer. Rayonance Conditioner gives me progressive care to help keep my first day colour alive.
New Rayonance Conditioner for coloured hair from L'Oreal keeps first day colour alive.
We are about to make television history. To this TV Times, we add full programme details of BBC One and BBC Two, fabulous features, the best film guide, BBC Radio, satellite, to create a magazine with everything on TV and more. The new, altogether brilliant TV Times. And if you think that's magic, we'll make it half price.
Most refined car of this size, conception and brilliant in execution. It's quite a revelation.
I don't believe it.
It's back on top. Driver of an old Metro in the seat of a new one, and he never gets that small car in the world.
Don't even think about buying another small car until you've seen the new Metro.
At QuickFit's 20th birthday tyre and exhaust sale, top quality tyres are going fast with up to £14 off a pair. So hurry while stocks last.
That's a nice rig, sir.
That's not a rug, Buff. It is a Bedouin birthing blanket. Tradition has it, a powerful aid to fertility.
Great! I'll get me mum one.
A Barclay card? Put it away, Buff. The Tuareg are an ancient people. They respect only hard cash and hard bargaining.
انت مجنون.
شمالي دك.
جاي من فين انت مش فاهمك انا. انت مجنون.
Thank you. Boa.
You sound fluent, sir.
We are both fluent, Buff. Sadly, in different languages. How much is the rug? So, where did your Barclay card get you?
Well, it got me reg insured for the next 3 months.
Insurance, Buff? I think I can handle a rug. Ah, smell those Tuareg campfires. Unmistakable. Look, shoot! Push off!
A millionaire's wife who was kidnapped for 5 days has thanked the milkman who helped rescue her. Mrs. Margaret Smith, whose husband is deputy chairman of Luton Town Soccer Club, had been chained up in a flat in Hemel Hempstead. When she shouted for help yesterday, the milkman didn't hear her. Today he did. Tonight a man was charged with kidnapping and blackmail.
Limping slightly after 5 days sitting chained hand and foot, Margaret Smith was still able to smile for the cameras. There was little sign of the ordeal she'd been through after being kidnapped from the family home last Thursday. She was held captive in a small boarded-up room above an antique shop in the centre of Hemel Hempstead. Armed police had surrounded the building early this morning after 2 milkmen heard Mrs. Smith's cry for help.
We heard somebody calling out. And we shouted up and said, "What's wrong?" And she said she'd been tied up since Friday. And just carried on talking to her, and I said, "Well, I'll go and phone the police."
At first I thought it was a television, you see. I thought, well, someone's got an early morning programme on, you know, it was a bit loud. But and then she called out again, help me, and of course, naturally, we just thought, well, it can't happen twice on television, the same sort of cause.
Police broke down the back door and found Mrs. Smith alone upstairs. It's now been revealed that the building next door was searched by police last Friday after neighbours heard a call for help. Mrs. Smith says she also tried unsuccessfully yesterday morning to call to the milkman.
When I screamed yesterday, I thought, trust me to find a deaf milkman. And when I screamed this morning, he said, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm here." And he then went to the police, and here I am safe. Yes, I was terrified. But I knew I was no good to him dead. So I'm alive.
In telephone calls to Mrs. Smith's husband, the kidnapper used a mechanical device to disguise his voice. Police nicknamed him the Dalek.
No, I can't. Not quickly. It would take me some time. I can't hear you very well. Well, that's an impossibly large amount.
Police say a man will appear in court tomorrow, charged with Mrs. Smith's kidnapping. Harry Smith, News at 10, Hertfordshire.
A schoolboy aged 15 shot and seriously injured a teacher in front of 20 of his classmates at a school in Bristol today. The teacher, Mr. Roderick Finlay, the boy's housemaster, was hit by at least one shot and badly hurt. The boy had arrived at Colston School carrying 2 shotguns. He fired several shots in the grounds, narrowly missing the deputy headmaster, before shooting the teacher in a classroom. The boy is being questioned by police.
The parents of 9 children allegedly involved in ritual sex orgies in South Ronaldsay, Orkney, were formally told today why the children had been taken into protective custody on the mainland. Place of safety orders were upheld and extended for a further 21 days in each case at a children's panel meeting. A sheriff court will have to decide if the allegations are true.
The allegations of satanic rites and ritualistic abuse of children have stunned this normally peaceful community. Demonstrators on the island today bitterly condemned the actions of social workers who removed 9 children from their homes in a series of dawn raids. They gathered to show their support to the families.
I think every one of us is terrified to death, and I feel so strongly that these parents are good people.
It was despicable. Can you imagine it? Yeah. Being taken out of their beds, told to get dressed. They couldn't even say goodbye to their parents properly.
It's alleged the children were exposed to lewd and libidinous acts involving sexual intercourse or simulated sexual intercourse between adults and children and between adults. It's also alleged these acts took place during hours of darkness and involved the use of ritualistic music, dance and dress. The parents were stunned by the allegations. Their identity has to be concealed to protect the children involved.
I mean, it is mad. It's a Salem witch hunt. Call it what you will. Right. Oh, for goodness sake, if we had the time or the inclination to get up to ritual things, you haven't got the privacy in South Ronaldsay.
I happen to be a doctor. I also happen to be a human. I don't think you need to be a doctor to express what effect this is going to have on the children that are kept away.
The social workers involved would not comment, but many before them have been condemned for not acting fast enough when children have been suspected of being victims of abuse. David Chater, News at 10 in Kirkwall.
The Trade and Industry Secretary, Mr. Peter Lilly, has confirmed the government is going ahead with plans to break the telephone duopoly held by British Telecom and Mercury. Other concerns, like the cable TV companies and even British Rail, will be able to set up rival services. Mr. Lilly says it'll mean a cheaper phone service for nearly everyone.
The chairman of Midland Bank, Sir Kit McMahon, announced a halved dividend to shareholders today and said he would be leaving in June. His contract had 2 years to run. The dividend is cut from 18 pence a share in 1989 to 9 pence, the first cut by any of the major banks since the 1930s. Midland's pre-tax profit last year was £11 million. It wrote off £703 million for bad and doubtful debts.
The Midland, once the biggest bank in the world, still a pillar of the city establishment, today unveiled its worst financial results since the Second World War. It's lost millions of pounds which were lent to companies that have collapsed during the recession. And Sir Kit McMahon, who announced he's quitting the top job, has been forced to cut the dividend.
We didn't do it lightly, but it is a difficult time. The economy is in bad shape. Our earnings are not strong at present. We thought it was the prudent thing to do to conserve our capital and reserves so we can go forward more strongly.
Sometimes, when you're on the move,
all this would have been unthinkable 30 years ago when Midland led the field, the first British bank to use TV advertising and the first to bring in cheque cards.
From now on, that need not happen. The Midland Bank Group £30 cheque card.
But Midland later lost £200 million through a disastrous American acquisition and more in the Third World debt crisis. It's been getting to grips with its problems by introducing new technology and cutting thousands of jobs. Employees at district centres do the paperwork which used to be carried out laboriously at bank branches. This machinery will eventually save the bank money. However, some analysts believe the Midland does not have a long-term future as an independent institution.
The voters of Ribble Valley in Lancashire, who go to the polls in the by-election on Thursday, were told today their poll tax could be coming down by an average of £200. Mr. John McGregor, the leader of the Commons, told MPs that 8 out of 10 Ribble voters could benefit from the community charge reduction scheme. The poll tax has been the most important issue in the campaign. An NOP poll in tomorrow's Independent newspaper shows the Conservatives on 45%, that's 16% down on the general election 4 years ago, the Liberal Democrats with 34%, that's up 13%, and Labour unchanged on 18%.
Balderstone Brass Bands Association with the Ribble Valley goes back more than a century. Originally, its players were farmers. Today, this lush agricultural area is prosperous, with low unemployment and one of the country's highest rates of home ownership. Yet behind the intense activity of the Tories' youthful candidate Nigel Evans is a profound anxiety about how its support will stand up. Some have deserted for their own reasons.
I'm not voting Conservative because of what happened to Margaret Thatcher, stabbed in the back by her own party.
But for most, it's dissatisfaction with the economy and, above all, the poll tax, which could dent their large majority, if not their confidence.
I think we're going to win, but I'm not going to sort of be drawn into the pedantics of saying what is a good result, what's not a good result. The fact is, I think we'll win.
But for a sceptical electorate, the question was whether the Liberal Democrats or Labour, carefully avoiding each other in the market today, could best beat the Tories.
I'm voting Labour this time, because the Conservatives have done nothing for me at all.
Definitely not Conservative, definitely not Labour. So it's either going to be the Liberal Democrats or one of the stupid parties to make a statement that I'm not happy.
The Liberal Democrat leader, his image boosted by his approach to the Gulf crisis, backed candidate Mike Carr's assessment that they could best embrace the floating voters.
I'm not going to talk about how big a Tory majority there's going to be, because I don't actually believe there's going to be one.
Labour's Josie Farrington's equally convinced the momentum's with her, campaigning for better local amenities and poll tax abolition.
We are fighting to win in this seat, and the response we're getting on the doorstep is growing all the time.
The Ribble Valley electorate will decide more than their MP on Thursday. The outcome will influence the timing of the next general election and remind the government just how much work it has yet to do if it's to change the enduring unpopularity of the poll tax. Mark Webster News at 10, Ribble Valley.
Apart from the three main parties, there are 6 other candidates contesting the Ribble Valley by-election on Thursday. Here are their names and their parties.
Tonight, soccer in the Barclays League Division 1, Manchester City 3, Luton 0. In Division 2, Bristol City 1, Bristol Rovers 0, Swindon 0, Oxford 0, West Ham at the top 2, Plymouth 2, Wolves 2, that was Steve Bull and Andy Much, Leicester 1. In Division 3, Bournemouth 0, Wigan 3, Chester 1, Reading 0, Mansfield 0, Stoke 0, Rotherham 0, Bury with Hopes 3. In Division 4, Aldershot 3, Wrexham 2, Chesterfield 2, Burnley 1, Darlington the leaders 1, Walsall 0, Scunthorpe 3, Northampton 0, Torquay 0, Lincoln 1. In the B&Q Scottish League Premier Division, Motherwell 0, Aberdeen 2, they're just 4 points behind Rangers. Division 1, Dundee at the top 4, Ayr United 0, Forfar 0, Brechin 0, Morton 0, Clyde 0, Partick 2, Falkirk 0. In Division 2, East Stirlingshire 0, Stirling Albion 1, Stennismuir 2, Berwick 1.
And tonight's main news again. 35 more Allied prisoners have been released by Iraq. 9 are British. None have been named officially, but the parents of Flight Lieutenant David Waddington, the youngest RAF Tornado pilot serving in the Gulf, have confirmed he's among them. In the last half hour, the Tynemouth MP, Mr Neville Trotter, said Flight Lieutenant Adrian Nichol from North Shields was also freed. He was the navigator with Flight Lieutenant John Peters, released yesterday. And tonight, the parents of another Tornado pilot, Flying Officer Simon Burgess from Grimsby, said their son, too, was among those freed.
And that's the news at 10 tonight. Good night.
Later tonight, earlier than advertised, there's coverage of the British Featherweight Boxing Championship. That's at 11:45.
Yeah, and have a look at this tech thing. It's bigger than we thought.
What is it?
Well, I don't know, but it's coming through now.
They're all over the country and they're top businessmen.
Apparently, the government's well involved.
Who are they, anyway? That's the chief executive of Rolls-Royce Motor Cars. And this one's a university vice-chancellor.
Who's he?
He's the Eurotunnel fella. But what's the connection?
Look at this blow-up.
TEC. But what does it mean?
With every new day, a new challenge is here. Yet somehow I know the way forward is clear. You give it your best. It's the only way. And whether the challenge is great or it's small, it's trying that matters. You give it your all. There's nothing we can't achieve if only we say that this is your day.
It's the milk, glucose, malt, and thick chocolate that always delivers that unmistakable 100% Mars taste.
Cats are great. They always want to help. Right now, their help is all I need. Uh-oh, what's Tom getting up to? I know. Given a choice like this, Whiskers! Most cats would prefer Whiskers. As you can see, we all rely on Whiskers. Whiskers, the most preferred cat food.
Dances with Wolves is terrific entertainment, said Barry Norman. Nominated for 12 Oscars, Kevin Costner. Dances with Wolves.
Great British pioneers and their scientific achievements are honoured on 4 new stamps from the Royal Mail. Faraday, who turned motion into electricity. Babbage, who first designed a computer. Watson Watt, the father of radar. And Whittle, who conceived the jet engine. The stamps are at post offices from March the 5th onwards. You can also buy them in this presentation pack, or as postcards to send or collect. Royal Mail stamps, beautiful gifts you'll want to keep.
How does a champion avoid the rough? Ask Nick Faldo.
Together and stick it on the back page, okay?
Frank, I've cracked it.
First week, first scoop, eh, Julie?
This network is everywhere. It's Top employers, educationalists.
And the government.
Tech, it's a code name.
For training and enterprise councils.
Training and enterprise council?
Yeah, they're local. They help companies of all sizes with their training and business needs.
But how?
First rule of journalism. Read the papers, eh, Julie?
Good evening. Well, rain and drizzle make the weather headlines at the moment, and in fact this story holds right through until the end of the week. Well, we can blame it all on this low pressure out to the west and feeding cloud and rain up from the south, but at least in compensation temperatures are more than reasonable. Well, this certainly holds good for tonight over England and Wales, with a sprinkling of rain and drizzle here and there, but it is a completely different story for Northern Ireland and Scotland, with largely clear skies, patchy mist and fog, and even just a touch of ground frost. So we'll stay with the far north and moving on to tomorrow. The fog lifts quite readily and the day gets off to a fine, dry start. Now, in complete contrast, England and Wales has a very glum, grey beginning, with showers cropping up virtually all over the place. So then, as the day rolls on, that grim weather, well, it meanders up from the south, feeding rain and drizzle into Northern Ireland, southern and eastern Scotland, and the very best of any sunshine in the far northwest of Scotland. And that's not the end of it, because yet another band of rain starts hitting the southwest, so very much a damp squib there. Well, despite all this cloud and rain, temperatures are plenty reasonable enough, between 10 and 13, and the wind's light all over the place. That sims things up for now on the weather front. Good night.
Hello, good evening. East Coast fishermen say a plan to withdraw the Flamborough lifeboat for a 3-month survey will put lives at risk. The RNLI say the area will be covered by a faster boat at Bridlington. Ian Cundall reports.
The cliffs north of Flamborough have long had a grim reputation as a graveyard for mariners. Fishermen fear the withdrawal of their boat is a prelude to the closing down of the station for good. The last time the boat was surveyed, 2 anglers almost drowned within sight of the boathouse and had to be rescued by helicopter. But the RNLI insist no suitable replacement vessel is available.
We have misgivings of taking a lifeboat away, yes, always, but there just isn't any alternative, and we have to have the boat in first-class condition.
Do you accept lives are at risk here?
I don't think so. Lives are at risk at any part of our coastline, but of course we have a faster boat at Bridlington.
Coastlines are at risk. Where's the coverage going to be for all them passengers? It's no use flying around here with an inflatable dinghy, carry about 3 passengers. There only has to be one boat sunk that's 35 of water. What are you going to do with them?
The lifeboat could be withdrawn within weeks. Despite reassurances, villagers say they still fear it may never return.
Ian Cundall. There's news of further redundancies around the region. The Bradford computer firm Microvitech is shedding 62 out of 500 jobs after making a £2 million loss. In Sheffield, almost a fifth of pneumatic components, 210 staff, are to go because of falling sales. They make airline tyre pressure gauges. In Halifax, the road hauliers Wilson and Haig are laying off 30 workers and keeping just 11. And 105 jobs are under threat at a firm that makes food processing equipment in Kings Lynn. Bede Engineering have called in the receivers. A campaign's been launched in Sheffield to oppose reductions in job training schemes. More than 500 trainees attended a rally this afternoon. They were told the number of training places in the city is being halved as the government revises its approach to the subject.
UK Limited has been training mechanics in Sheffield for years and boasts a high success rate in finding them real jobs when the training's over. These 60 trainees will be able to complete most of their courses, but for those following them, there'll be nothing.
We don't train for the future. We don't train people for jobs that are coming on the way. And in a recession, now is the time when we should be training people.
But the trainees are fighting back and have begun planning a campaign to try and persuade the government to change its mind.
Detectives investigating the murder of a chef in Mansfield have found his missing car in Chesterfield. The body of Christopher Vittel was found at his home in Howard Road in Mansfield at the weekend. He'd been stabbed. Mr. Vittel had been missing for 2 weeks. Detectives have established that his white Peugeot 205 was sold on February the 15th. the last day he was seen alive. People from all over the region have been phoning a new animal helpline in Scunthorpe. Jane Jackson, who runs it, deals exclusively with a particular kind of creature. Wendy Homewood reports.
They always say you never really know what's going on behind the curtains of suburbia. And in this house in Scunthorpe, there's a woman with a rather unusual passion. Not so much a case of bats in the belfry, more bats in the back room. Jane can't understand anyone who doesn't like bats.
Look at its little face. How can you dislike that? I mean, they're so cute. They actually recognise us now, these bats, because we've, you know, had them for so long.
It's against the law to keep bats without a licence, but all Jane's bats have been badly injured. She hopes to nurse them back to health, but knows these bats will never fully recover and won't be able to return to the wild.
One of the biggest names in Speedway has joined the Bradford Dukes tonight. The former England captain, Simon Wigg, who's been riding for the Oxford team, signed on the dotted line for Bradford in the Calendar studio tonight.
The main reason as a sportsman is to be in a good environment more than anything, and they're the hungriest team around. They want to win, and if I could be a part of bringing success to Bradford, it would make me feel really great.
In tonight's soccer, Chesterfield got the most impressive result. Just 3 days after their first win in 5 months, new signing Lee Turnbull set them on their way to another one. He got a second goal after the break against high-flying Burnley, and Chesterfield won 2-1 despite this goal for Burnley from Winston White. But it was a bad night for Rotherham in Division 3. Mark Carney gave Bury the lead after an hour. Rotherham thought they'd scored shortly afterwards, or at least earned a penalty, but the referee instead awarded a free kick outside the penalty area. And Bury scored twice in the last 10 minutes, first through Dave Lee and then Tony Cunningham, to leave Rotherham still in trouble at the foot of Division 3. Scunthorpe's hopes of promotion from Division 4, though, got a boost. A defensive error by Northampton gave Tony Dawes a goal on 35 minutes. An own goal by Northampton's Phil Chard made it 2. And Scunthorpe completed their 3-0 win just before half-time, thanks to this header from Mark Lillis. Elsewhere, Mansfield and Stoke drew 0-0. David Putnam's goal won for Lincoln at Torquay. That's it. Good night.
Now look at the weather. A cloudy night is expected with outbreaks of rain or drizzle, especially over Lincolnshire and Norfolk. The cloud will be low enough at times to give some hill fog, especially over the High Pennines and the North York Moors. It will be a mild, frost-free night, however, with temperatures no lower than 6 degrees centigrade, 43 degrees Fahrenheit. Cloudy skies will dominate again tomorrow with outbreaks of rain or drizzle, especially near the coast, where it will be quite misty. Inland areas will become a little brighter during the afternoon. Top temperature, a slightly above normal 10 degrees centigrade, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. But it'll feel colder in the moderate east or southeasterly wind. So that's the forecast. Now here's the summary of tomorrow's weather.
The Match, tomorrow at 8, live and exclusive on ITV. Old Trafford is the venue when Manchester United's style of English football takes on top European competition. With the hot form they've shown this season, United have won through to the quarter-finals of the European Cup Winners' Cup. They face Montpellier, an unpredictable side bristling with Gallic flair and skill. Set your sights on the European Cup Winners' Cup with Manchester United and ITV live and exclusive tomorrow at 8.
6 assorted tarts. An organic pomegranate. Chocolate teddy. Tea strainer. Nuts. Sausages. Something else. Something else. Got the nuts, got the chocolate teddy. Book of stamps.
You can now buy books of stamps at thousands of different places. Stick one on your shopping list.
Didn't she do well?
Vaseline Intensive Care Lotion for everyday rescue.
Now, some predictions on what we might expect from 21st century medicine in First Tuesday.